Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're back on the Mac Tools truck. I know it's been a couple weeks since I put a video up about the truck. Last week I wasn't feeling too great. My mother's been sick, been taking care of her. A lot of other stuff going on. Not sure if it's the crud going around or if it was just seasonal depression or what, but just didn't feel like getting out and doing much. But all the parts are finally here, everything's ready. We have already pulled the front down to the spindle on the passenger side. We had that seized up wheel bearing, seized up brake caliper. I filmed a lot of the teardown on my cell phone, so there's gonna be some clips at the beginning of this video of me taking it apart on the cell phone video clips. And from then, I've got the camera here today. I've got everything cleaned up. I've painted over the rust. I've painted the brake shield. I've painted the shield for the ABS wheel speed sensor. I've got all the new parts. I believe I already filmed a clip on the video on the cell phone showing the new parts and showing what I did yesterday. But got the camera set up and going to go ahead and start putting this back together. So look at the clips of the teardown, and I will see you back here in a minute for the putting it back together portion of the video. All right guys, so started working on the front brakes here. As you see, totally burned up. It looks like the issue was not the fact that the caliper was seized, more so that the wheel bearing was seized. Which subsequently burned this caliper up really bad. The pistons are really scorched. The outside of the caliper housing, you can see where it got really hot and started cracking. Rotor, of course, is destroyed. But without the brakes applied, we still cannot turn this wheel hub by hand. So about to take all this apart, knock it loose. All the grease in here is just cooked. So I'm assuming we got a bad wheel bearing. Hopefully it didn't destroy the spindle. That's going to be a pain if it did, but fingers crossed it did not destroy it. But as bad as this thing was smoking, as hot as it got, I would say it's probably cooked. So that's not going to be fun, because as far as I know, you're going to have to drive out the kingpin and all that stuff on this I-beam front axle, which is above what I work on. So not sure how this is going to go. Well, this just got expensive. So, as you see, the ABS wheel speed sensor is good and melted completely. Not sure how much that cost. I've not got the schmoo off of here, but pretty sure that the spindle is tostada as well. That's the inner wheel bearing, totally toasted. The outer wheel bearing, totally toasted. And I'm sure this hub is ripe for the junk metal pile as well, as this rotor is. So, this is gonna be a lot more expensive and involved than I thought it would be. I figured I could replace a caliper rotor and put new pads on it, but looks like we're gonna get deeper into this front end than I wanted to. So not exactly sure how all this works on the heavy duty trucks, because it ain't what I work on. So I don't know if I can take these 4 nuts off here and the spindle comes off, and there's another mount behind here that the kingpin goes through. I assume I'm even using correct terminology. I'm pretty sure these I-beam, if this even is I-beam, the straight axle front ends, I'm pretty sure the kingpin is the pin that runs through that pivots the spindle back and forth turning. So not sure if I got to knock the kingpin out and replace all of this, the caliper bracket and the spindle, or if the spindle bolts off separately. I don't know, I haven't got into it yet. About to jump on Advanced Auto Parts commercial and see how much this is going to sting the old bank account. But yeah, freaking amazing. As much smoke was rolling out of there, I knew we had to have something burned up. But yeah, you can see the disgustingness of that melted ABS wheel speed sensor. Totally toasted. All right guys, so got the front got the front wheel bearing races knocked out of the hub. Luckily they came out fairly easily. As you can tell, that inner, now this is the outer, is they got really hot. You can see all the marks on there from the roller bearings and the wheel bearing assembly. Outside is scorched and discolored. Inner wheel bearing race. We've got a USA, I think it's a Tinkman bearing. I'm not sure. Not as bad, but we do got a big bad spot right in here. So, gonna go ahead and replace the races and wheel bearings. Luckily, being big old truck, this stuff's cheap. I think the wheel bearings are like 24, 25 bucks a piece. Seals, hub's good to reuse. Got to get a rotor, got to get pads, got to get a caliper, and spindle cleaned up really well. There is a little bit, just a hair of scoring on the bottom side of the spindle. Gonna hit it with some emery cloth. That should remedy that, and should be getting out a lot cheaper than I initially thought pulling this thing apart. Still got to track down an ABS wheel speed sensor because ours melted, and looking at Advanced Auto Parts, the ones they were showing were not the correct one pictured, but you know, the pictures are never always exactly what is the part they're selling. But yeah, that outer bearing, ooh, that race got really hot. Look at that. Got the new bearing race inner and outer put in just now with the these are actually seal drivers, but they work good enough to be race installers. These are the brand new Timken races. If you recall, that was the old inner and the old outer. We got some brand new front brake pads. We've got brand new front rotors. We've got a new caliper since that one got cooked. We've got our brand new USA Timken inner and outer wheel bearing. We've got GM genuine thermostat. That's for later on. And brake parts. What is this? This is the hardware. Yeah, this is that goofy hardware for the caliper. It's got like this wedge that you put in to hold the caliper on instead of bolting it on. Weird. First time really messing with one of those. And we got a brand new GM genuine AC Delco ABS wheel speed sensor. So got everything ready to go. Also got my plate and registration. And the big torque. So let's go ahead and actually get the camera set up and film on this rather than here on my phone. All right, so as you see, the spindle is nice and clean. I went over it with some emery cloth. It did have a little bit of a bad section on the bottom where that bearing had locked up. Got everything, all the rust knocked off. Got some flat black Rust-Oleum paint on here. Got our new inner seal on here. So now we're gonna go ahead and install the new GM genuine AC Delco ABS wheel speed sensor. Looks much better than that melted one we took off. All right, I don't know if there is a specified air gap on that or not, but we're just going to tighten it down for now. If we need to adjust it, we will do so once we get the spindle not the spindle, the hub back up there to see if you know, it's too close to the tone ring. All right, so now we can reinstall this top bracket that went over the kingpin. The bad thing about waiting so long after taking something apart, you kind of forget where things went. And these bolts are quarter inch, 12 point. Let's check the other side. That does appear to be correct. ABS. This bracket, I can't remember if it bolted on here or not. All right, now the ABS wheel speed sensor is on. We can go ahead and clean off the Cosmoline on the new rotor and go ahead and bolt it on to the hub. The rotors on this truck are freaking massive, but given the size of it, you'd expect that. And they're 14 inches, just as big as the wheels on the sandbar. So we've got 5 bolts that go in through the backside of the rotor into the hub. If I recall correctly, these are 22 millimeter. Torque specifications are hard to find on this vehicle, so I'm going to go with about 140 foot-pounds. Hopefully that will be adequate for this application. I know it's not 22. What size were these? Apparently I do not have the socket I need. I think maybe these were actually 19 millimeter. Maybe I got a 19 or a 17, not sure. Should have it in the truck. Yep, it's a 19. Go ahead and run these in with the mid torque. On our lowest speed. Go ahead and get the torque wrench set for about 140 foot-pounds, just to be on the safe side of things. Which this will probably be difficult to torque. Just set it on its side. Might just have to take the high torque and knock these jokers in. I think that might be what we're gonna have to do. This is not gonna be easy to pull. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I'm just gonna have to put the high torque on full blast and let her eat. All right, got the high torque. Real quick for those that watched the Milwaukee video the other day, this is the difference in the high torque and the new mid torque. Big size difference. So, don't like to do this. I'd rather torque it properly, but we're just gonna have to do what we gotta do. And let it tighten up in a star pattern. Hopefully we do not warp the rotor. That's why you'd like to torque these with a torque wrench. If you over tighten one side or the other, you got the chance of warping the brake rotor, and then you'll have pedal pulsation and all kinds of not good issues. So hopefully that'll be good enough for us. Hopefully that won't cause us any issue. Hopefully those won't come loose until it's time to change them, of course. Then I hope they do come loose again. So all this is now set. We've got our wheel speed sensor on there. I already set the air gap, eyeballing it. I'm not exactly sure what the specification is, but put it to what looked to be a good amount of clearance. Hopefully that will not come back and bite me later on. So with that done, we can go ahead and put the ABS wheel speed sensor shield on here. And now the wheel speed sensor shield's on. We should be able to go ahead and install our brake shield as well. Hopefully remembering which fasteners held it on. Again, it's been quite a while since taking this apart, so memory is a wee bit fuzzy. But I'm pretty sure I remember the most of it. Now I'm thinking back, I believe that this bolt down here was a through bolt. Yep, that was a through bolt with a nut. go. If I can have my wrench back. All right, now that we got all that set, we should be good to go ahead and throw the hub on, throw our new outer wheel bearing on there, and set our preload on everything, and tighten our nut down with and then put a new cotter pin in there. Let's get everything right here at the ready. Already packed these new Timken wheel bearings. Did it off camera. Packing wheel bearings is pretty rudimentary and a messy task that I didn't want to have to mess with greasy hands and the camera at the same time. So lift this heavy joker up here. Slide her on. I'll go ahead and throw in the new wheel bearing. Slide that into place. We can put our locking flat washer in place and our castle nut. Go ahead and tighten this down by hand. If I recall correctly, I think it's 29 millimeter or inch and 1/8. I don't remember finding a torque specification for this for setting preload, but I might Google it real quick, see if I can come up with anything. Let's see if this was, it's not a 29, it's not a 30. Is it a 32? Yes, it is a 32. So general rule of thumb on these, you want to spin the hub while turning the castle nut, so you take any slack, any play out of those tapered wheel bearings. Normally they'll give you a low torque figure to torque this nut to, and then to back it off a hair to set the preload on these. But again, like I said, I'm not sure what that is on this particular application. It's hard to find info on the step vans. So I'm gonna get on Google real quick, see if I can find it, set that up, and once I've got it all set, we'll be back. All right, so I went to Timken's website, and they had an application guide for installing these. It's been forever since I've done tapered wheel bearings. I'm so used to modern bolt-in wheel bearing, sealed wheel bearing assemblies. But what you have to do is, while spinning this, torque this nut to 50 foot-pounds to preload it. You do one 360-degree turn off. You then torque it to 10 foot-pounds while spinning it again. Then you back it off 1/6 to 1/4 of a turn to your closest cotter pin hole alignment. You want just the slightest bit of in play, and you're all set. Time to throw a new cotter pin in there and put the dust cap back on. And there we are. Now we can go ahead and put the new brake pads on and bolt our new caliper into place and transfer the brake hose over. All right, got that back on. Sorry I didn't get to show you everything, but just transferred over the bleeder and the brake line, new copper crush washers on the brake line. New pads in, gonna put in the new hardware. These are a wedge style caliper. They do not bolt on. You've got this wedge and spring that you hammer in between the caliper and the bracket, and then you put this here screw in that locks it all in place. Oh, sorry I couldn't show you that, guys. I had to take a cussing break. This thing was aggravating me to death. Apparently the new hardware does not want to fit, so finally had to just try the old hardware and it went right in. So yeah, so now I got to tighten up this little hex bolt back here, and that locks everything in place. All right, that seems tight enough. Hopefully caliper don't fall off, but that's it. This side's done. I got to put the brake line back in the mounting bracket here and re-secure it with the little C-clip. We can bleed the brakes on this side and put the wheel back on, and go ahead and put our new rotor and new pads on the driver's side, and finally be done with this. So probably going to end the video out here. It's getting dark on me. I don't want to really make this a very long video, but you've basically seen everything we need to look at. All I'm going to do from here is tidy up the brake lines, bleed the brakes, and reinstall the wheels, torque them down, and then we can work on the air conditioning compressor that's locked up. I ordered a Dorman AC delete kit. It's like 30 bucks. That's just temporary until we get to the spring. And I do fix the air condition properly, but for right now, I don't want to put a compressor on it that's like $200-300 bucks. And you know, it'd be winter time, so we're gonna put a $35 dead pulley delete for the AC compressor, put a new belt on it. We're gonna go ahead and do all the fluid and filter changes, put 2 new batteries in it, and get the 6 tires I picked up the other day mounted and balanced on this joker, and we should be in good shape. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.